so the story here follows, at first, a bunch of unlikable douchebags, a bunch of late teens, maybe early 20s kids that go around destroying stuff like houses, going around taking the tops off women and recording it, just being dicks to each other. They're just unlikable straight off the bat, so you cannot wait until they die. So, the whole plot here is that they get a job from someone, I'm not sure, but they get a job to go and take a bunch of VHS tapes from this old dude that lives in this house. Again, I don't know why they want the VHS tapes, but it makes for a good plot. You'll get it when you see it, okay? And they go there, they find out that the old dude is actually dead. He's been dead for a little while, and there's a whole stack of VHS tapes, and they're all like, well, these aren't the VHS tapes that we're looking for. I don't know why they decide that, but they decide those aren't the VHS tapes. And they go around looking for the VHS tapes. And one by one, a different teenager goes, or mid-20s, early 20s, I don't know, kid, just goes around looking through the VHS tapes and putting one in. And that's where the short stories come from. Whenever a kid just puts one in and watches one, that's where the short stories come in. And I'm not going to explain each short story because I want you guys to go into this fresh like I was, because I read a lot of reviews, listened to a lot of reviews, and I'll give credit to everybody. Everybody that I read and listened to a review for did not spoil any of the stories. They didn't even talk about them. All they said is that each story is either scary or not scary. They talk about it like that, but they would not explain what the story was for each one. And I love that. That's great. I want you guys to go into this just fresh, because it really is a fantastic experience. Just going like, oh my god, that was a great story. I can't wait until the next one and see what happens in that one. I love that experience. And that's why I love Trick or Treat, and I love Creepshow, and I love Creepshow 2. Hate me, I don't care. But I love these anthology horror films, and I would love to see more of them. So, without further ado, let me actually talk about each one of the stories without actually talking about the stories. Let me just tell you if they were scary, if they weren't. Let's talk about them. So the first story here really is a great introduction to the next four, because here it just shows you how insane these stories can get. Because, I mean, it starts off pretty, slow. It starts off with a bunch of teenagers. Not gonna spoil what they're doing, but I'll just say a bunch of teenagers. And then the outcome is so insane and so creepy and just so inventive. It's just so cool. It really is. It's very creepy, very scary, very entertaining. And I know it's about 15-20 minutes long, but it did really go by quickly. It did. Like, I know it's 20 minutes, but it really did feel like it went by like in 5 minutes, because it was so entertaining. It really was. It was funny. It had good acting. I really enjoyed the first story. So there you go. The first story is a great introduction to the next four. Now let's talk about the second story. Second story, now I didn't mention this, but each story is actually directed by a different person too. And this one is actually directed by Ti West. I'm not really sure who directs all the other ones, but this one, I know Ti West because I've seen House of the Devil and I saw The Innkeepers, and those were both great movies. And this one really is just like those, where it's like very slow, very relaxing, shows a really nice little setting in the beginning, and then it just goes insane right after. Like in the last 30 seconds, it goes insane. And it's not really creepy, it's more like, holy crap, what just happened? And it really is. It's a great payoff. It really is. And it's so insane. It just cuts off right after that. It's like perfect. So you know what, the second one, Ti West, you did a great job there. I know a lot of people were really disappointed in this one because you're Ti West and you're a great guy. I know you're a great guy and you're a great director. And some people were disappointed that it wasn't that, memorable, but I remember it because it just went insane in the last 30 seconds. I love that. So the second one, I thought was great. So let's go on to the third one. Right after I finished watching the third story, I was like, you know what, that's probably the best one. That was great. But, yeah, I actually thought about it a little bit more, and the acting in this kind of sucks. It does. I mean, it's not that great. I mean, some people do okay jobs for the 20 minutes that they're on there, but a lot of people, especially the main character, really aren't good actors, and that's a main problem with this story. Now, the thing that is great about this story and why I loved it is the killer. The killer in this one, oh, God, ooh, burp, is amazing. It's a great idea what they do. I mean, the special effects are amazing. If you see the story, you'll be like, okay, those are kind of crappy. But I like the idea of this killer. I really do. And there's a lot of really cool gore, a lot of really cool like scenes where it just like flashes to a death scene that you'll never see again. You'll be like, what the hell just happened there? And it's really cool. It's really effective, and I really, really enjoy this one because of that. The acting isn't very good, but for the most part, the gore, the killer itself, and just the pace itself too was very good. I really liked it. So you know what? The third one is good in my books. Not my favorite now after I thought about it, but still a great one. Let's go on to the fourth one. The fourth one, I think, is directed by Joe Swanberg, who was actually in the second story. He was actually an actor in the second story, and this one's directed by him. And this one, like the third one, it has a really cool thing to it, really awesome setup, I would say. And I don't want to spoil it again. I don't want to spoil. But it has a really cool setup, and it's a very effective one too. It's not one that goes like retarded, like gore heavy, but it's a really effective one too, and it's very creepy and very like, what the hell just happened? It's so weird and very creepy at the end. And again, it has a really cool setup that I was thinking, alright, right after I was watching this one, I was like, okay, that third one isn't even close to as good as this one is, because this one's actually amazing. I love this one. And after, about a week thinking about it, I'm like, okay, it's not that amazing, but it's still a really good story. I really like this one. And yeah, it's very effective, very creepy, very weird, especially at the end. They use something that I haven't seen in a horror film in a very long time, killer-wise, and I really like it. So, you know what? The fourth one, Joe Swanberg, you did a good job. You did a good job. Now, let's go on to the final story, which is my favorite one. And this one, oh god, it's so good. I just really love this one because of really the acting and all the characters, which are pretty likable, I would say. I mean, I can't really remember all their names because, again, it was only like 15-20 minutes long, and I don't think they even mentioned their names. But there was really likable characters, it was very funny, and when it got to it, it was actually very creepy at times, and some of the special effects in this last one are really good. I mean, I so want to talk about what happens in the last one. It's just so insane at times, and it's just so good, and it's so funny in the first half, and then gets creepy in the last half, and it really balances those two things perfectly in this last one. And it's such a great send-off for this great, fantastic anthology horror film. After I thought about it, none of these stories were bad. Even the third one, which I was like, yeah, it was great, and then I thought about it, I was like, oh, well, okay, it wasn't that great. But even after that one, I was still thinking, if this was a full movie, I would still think this is okay. And all the other ones combined with that third one, geez, this is a great anthology horror film. It's gory, it's bloody, it's creepy. It will leave you just going, what the hell just happened at times, like in the second episode story. And I just love this one. It's very creepy, has good acting for the most part, and I just love it. I cannot wait until they make a second one, which I hope they do, because I can't wait to see what other directors, or even the same directors, can do again. And I cannot wait for the next anthology horror film, which I think is called the ABCs of Death, which I really want to see that too. But for now, this is definitely a great hold-off. I'm going to give this movie a 34 out of a 40. There you go. There's my review. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you, and goodbye.